Hey guys, what's up? I just wanted to make a quick video about my recent acquisition. I got an LTD EC-1000 over here with an Evertune Bridge. I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on the Evertune. I'm not going to do like an instructional here. There are plenty of videos on the internet for that purpose. But I saw this floating around on Kijiji for 900 Canadian, and having used an Evertune in the studio before, I thought it was absolutely necessary to have in my own studio, as I've started to record a lot more bands these days, and I'm trying to make that into more of a part-time to full-time job in the future. So this was kind of an investment in myself, I guess. So if you don't know by now, Evertunes are the system that is installed into the bridge of your guitar that essentially keep it in tune no matter what until maybe your strings start to die or something. But it's incredibly useful for the studio and live if you feel comfortable bringing that out on the road with you. Because staying in tune for long periods of time is pretty amazing. Especially I used to playing Gibson Les Pauls, which stay in tune for a song or two at most. I'm not going to be taking this on the road with me at this point for a few reasons, but I'll talk about that in a sec. Plays completely intonated across the neck. So I'll start off by saying there's a bit of a learning curve with the Evertune Bridge System. Nothing crazy, but you're going to have to sit down with it, and I don't recommend getting an Evertune guitar unless you know how to already set up your guitars. So it's not for a beginner or even some intermediate players who don't know how to do setups or anything like that. This is not really going to work for you because you need to be able to have that adjustment, or you need to be able to make those adjustments and correctly set your intonation, your string height, everything, right? You have to do it I'd say almost every string up just to make sure you're keeping it perfectly in tune, because nothing is perfect on a guitar. Even Evertunes can go out of tune, believe it or not, but it's ridiculously hard. So make sure that you have that experience under your belt before taking on an Evertune, because you're going to find it quite frustrating, actually, to be honest. Even I found it a little bit difficult at first. There was definitely a learning curve. The way that you have to go about setting up the Evertune is quite unusual, where you basically twist, you string up and you twist until it finally stops changing in pitch, and then you have to actually check the tuning here and adjust it till it's perfect, and then you have to further adjust the pegs to adjust whether you can bend or not. And I will say there's a little problem with Evertune's instructional on their website. They recommend the final step. There's 5 steps. They recommend the final step to be adjusting the string height, and they say it's optional. I don't think this is a good idea. I think it's a very poorly, just basically a very poor way to intonate or to set up your guitar. You don't do the string height before you do the intonation, because when you change the height of the strings, you're going to change the intonation. So it's just, that's what I knew that going into it, but I followed exactly what Evertune told me to do, and I had that exact problem where I got everything perfect. I adjusted the string height, like in the final step, as they told me, and now everything was out of tune and not intonated properly again. So I had to go back and do the whole process again, which is a little bit difficult. So yeah, I recommend you tune up to the right tuning, you adjust the string height, check the tuning again, and then you do the intonation. Don't do it the way that Evertune says on their website, which is string height last. It's pointless. So after getting it all set up, some solid, I play 11 to 54 heavy strings. It's really just, I set it so that you can't bend the strings. I don't really play bends that much, and I feel this way I can dig in really hard with my rhythm, and it'll stay perfectly in tune. That's just my preference. And I do recommend heavier strings with an Evertune system, because if you have the option, the problem with heavier strings is that to get them to not buzz is really tough. But with this Evertune system, there's like, it's natural for the strings to have a little more height to them, so you'll have like a higher action overall. So in that way, you're not really going to run into the same problems as you would putting heavy strings on like a typical guitar, like a Les Paul, where you're going to have lots of buzzing up in the higher frets. You're going to have basically like, if you hit really hard, all that tension is going to pull the note up or down. Anyways, so really just an incredible studio tool. Obviously, I don't like the look of this thing that much. I mean, it looks great, but it's not my style. I don't play metalcore or something. But I'll use it. Also, the neck on this particular guitar is quite thin. It's like a thin U shape, very shredder and like articulate. But that's not me. I play like a fatty Gibson Les Paul chunky neck. This one's wide and thin. You know, it's just not quite me, so I'm not sure if I'll ever see this on the road. Maybe if I can get a second one, or maybe if I can install one in my Gibson Les Paul and have a backup, but it's just gonna remain in the studio. And yeah. So do I recommend you buy this? Yes, absolutely, if you have the experience of setting up your own guitars. In that case, I think it would be a worthwhile investment to buy any guitar you can find with an Evertune that might satisfy your needs. I like humbuckers. This thing has Seymour Duncans. It has an Evertune. What more could I want? You know, it's a guitar that never goes out of tune. Especially if you're recording your own demos, if you're recording other bands like I am, this is going to serve its purpose easily. No matter the investment, you can spend $1,500, $1,600 on this. I think it's still worth it for a guitar of this caliber. And you might end up using it on the road. You might end up loving them and getting another Evertune and another one, because that's exactly what happens with like some producers I know. They got one and that's it. Okay, well now like every freaking guitar I own has to be an Evertune. Why would I go back? Why would I have any guitar that I have to like spend so much time tuning in between every single take in the studio or between every single song live? It's just, this is the future. This is innovation at its finest in the guitar world. I don't think you could go wrong with getting an Evertune. All right, those are my thoughts. I'll just do some playing or something like that, and yeah, take care.